Hello, and welcome to episode 36 of the Fiber Circus. Today is April 17th, and welcome to another day of the pandemic. I'm your host Elizabeth, coming to you from southern Indiana, where I have a hand-dyeing, knitting, spinning, and fiber farm known as the Spotted Circus. You can get a hold of me on Ravelry, Facebook, and Instagram, all as Spotted Circus, and all the contact details and show notes for today's show are all down below. So sit back, relax, and hopefully you enjoy the show. I can tell probably most of you are noticing the fact that there's a giant pink band-aid on my nose. It's a giant pink owl, in case you're curious. One side effect of the pandemic that I've discovered is the fact that when you're not going out and wearing makeup too often, you don't tend to wash your face as often because you just don't think about it. So I have a gigantic zit right underneath the nose piece of my glasses right now. So I have to wear a band-aid because it hurts. So, just yet another side effect of the pandy that we never saw coming. So, this week, it's been 25 days since I last podcasted. Normally it'd be 14, but you know, it's like everybody says, just blame it on the pandy. We've had a bit of chaos happening in the last week and a half. Things just, it seemed like we're hitting one thing after another. So I haven't necessarily gotten as much knitting done as what I wanted to. I've been doing a bunch of dyeing, and unfortunately as a result I'm running out of some supplies because I can't get them in. So it's been somewhat busy. So the first thing that I've been working on, and in reality the only knitting thing I've been working on, is my Wifty top by Frenchie is what I know you call her, the Fiber Muse, by Francois Denoy. And this is the Wifty top. And so I've been working on it out of my own yarn that I hand dye. And this is the Disco Lights colorway. And it's on Superwash, merino, and nylon. Currently it's in the store on just my Superwash BFL and Firestar base. But last time, I'm in the middle of the row, of course I am. So, last time, I was right here. You can see I'm building a square. So I've passed the square section, or the midpoint of the square. So here's one half of the square, and now I'm heading downhill, basically. So, you can see the little speckles just kind of pop up at random, and that's why I call it Disco Lights. This will glow under black light, which is part of the fun in it, I think. It's kind of see-through, I've just noticed, on the camera at least. I don't think I'm going to have to block this very heavily, because this should be, midpoint should be roughly like halfway across my bust, and it's a little bit bigger than what it should be. I thought I was getting gauge originally, maybe I'm not now. Who knows? However, it's a nice, simple, very mindless knit, which I appreciate. I don't have to think a whole heck of a lot about it. Just every other row I have to do some increases and decreases, so it's pretty simple. So it's coming along pretty good. I guess I'm happy with it so far. I have not been alternating skeins at all, because this is such a random variegated speckling that it's not doing any really weird pooling. Down here, it started to slightly pool, but you can tell it definitely stopped. So, this is what I'm working on right now. These are size 5 needles, and they're in a very exciting bag that was hand sewn by my mother of sparkly spiders. Because, you know, it's a pandy. You gotta have sparkly spiders. So, working on that. And besides that, I've mainly been spinning. I've had the urge to cast on several things, but I've held off because I know I need to get stuff done. So I've been working on some spinning. So last time, I had talked about how I was working on spinning for a sweater. And it was a sweater by Jillian Merino out of the Yarn Texture book. And it was a hand-spun, bulky, what's the word I'm looking for? Spiral ply. And I needed over 1,000 yards. And she used something like a poundish of fiber. Well, I used a pound of fiber as well. Hers was a bulky weight. Mine's definitely a bulky, maybe even a super bulky. And I got a whopping 400 yards. So, that plan has gone out the door. So here is the finished skein. And you can see, so it's black and green. It's actually richer than what it's showing up on camera right now. And I did spiral ply it with some black cotton linen, and then I also held some of this black sparkly sewing thread alongside it too, because you know you need a little bit of extra sparkle. But you can see just how big this skein is in comparison to my head. If I was to get 1,000 yards total, like I need for that sweater would probably weigh like 4 or 5 pounds, and that's way too heavy. So, new thought. Don't know what this is going to become now. Right now it makes a really nice gigantic neck warmer. I mean, you can technically, I mean, this is like a hat in and of itself right now. I mean, it's very, very warm. It's almost sound muffling also. So I don't know what I'm going to do with 400 yards of a super bulky, chunky yarn. It's very pretty to look at. This is one of those yarns where when I get done with it, I think, oh, maybe somebody might like to buy this for weaving, because this would be really pretty as a weft. However, what this would cost somebody to purchase, it's not feasible. So, not real sure what we're going to do about it, except look at it and call it pretty. So, gigantic skein. Turned out pretty good, but not what I had planned. So then I did some more spinning, like you do. And I decided I was going to finally start processing one of my alpaca fleeces from my alpaca measeles. Her real name's Blackout, but we call her Measeles because she has freckles all over her face. She's coming on, I think, 7 years old this year, and I have yet to really sell one of her fleeces because I like them. And the challenge with her fleece is she's kind of this strange taupey mushroom color. And I wanted to add some loft to it for a sweater to add the durability and the loftiness, but I didn't want to take away from the color that she is. So I've been trying to do a couple of blends. So this first blend I did with 20% of a bond sheep. And it's just a little mini skein because I wanted to be able to sample it and see what I thought about it. It's definitely got some nice squish, and it is a pretty taupey color. It doesn't reflect real well on screen. It's like a gray taupe. Kind of like the color of white wood paneled walls in reality. So I have it mixed with bond. I have it then also mixed with 20% of a rambouillet sheep, which my spinning was more consistent with this rambouillet, but it did darken it up slightly. So the bond was a light moret color. The rambouillet was a dark moret. And you can kind of see the difference in color between those two. This one's darker than what this one is. So let me make sure I put them back into the correct bags. I did label my bags, that way I knew what it was that I was doing and what I was blending. And I still need to wash these skeins to get more of a feel on what I think about them. So I thought one was too dark. The other one I didn't like the handle on as much. I didn't like the bond for some reason. I like it on its own, but I didn't like it blended. So then what I tried was 10% of the dark rambouillet and 10% of Cormo. And I like the way it feels. It didn't spin quite as consistently as what I wanted it to, compared to the straight rambouillet. But the color, I think, is more accurate to what she is. I mean, it's hard to see. Let me see if I can find something white. This is kind of white. So you can see, this is the rambouillet skein, and this is the rambouillet mixed with Cormo. And this is much more true to her color. It's kind of it's a funky taupey gray. And that's why I really haven't sold that fleece. So, I think I like this Cormo blended with the rambouillet the best. I'm going to wash it just to make sure. And then maybe I'll even take it out and hold it up against her and say, which is the most color correct for measles? Do I know what sweater I'm going to make? No. in theory, what I'd love to do is a colorwork sweater with all my alpacas out around it in handspun color. But let's get real. We need to at least spin a sweater's worth of yarn first before we go talking crazy about doing something like that. So this is some of the bat that I made. You can see there's still some debris in it. Measles isn't the cleanest little girl in the world. But it's very fine, and it's got a really nice squishiness to it, which she doesn't naturally have. Naturally, she's very drapey and silky soft. But that Cormo really added to her fleece, so I think as a blend, I think that's probably the direction that I'm going to go. We will see. So, I did that spinning, and each of those were like half an ounce, so it's not a whole heck of a lot of spinning. And then I did a sample spin because I got some fiber in that's white-faced woodland wool combined with baby llama, rammy, which is nettles. It's a plant, and then bamboo. And I dyed it in a rainbow, and I wanted to spin it to see what it was like. So I've got 90 yards of a rainbow. Maybe this white piece of foam really does help the color. So it looks very washed out, and it is. It's kind of a glazed color because the rammy and the bamboo do not take the dye that I use on this for the wool and the llama. It's very, very drapey. You can see there's a tiny bit of squish to it, and that's coming from the sheep's wool. But otherwise, as a skein, it's very floppy and drapey. Very much like a cotton. With 90 yards, don't really know what I'm going to make out of it. But it was enough to let me get the idea as to how this would spin if I decided to carry it. I need to wash this skein as well. And after I wash it, we'll see how I feel about it then. It's got some flyaways. That rammy is very flyaway-y, like silk almost. So, it's a cute little rainbow skein right now. We'll wash it up and see what it looks like afterwards. 90 yards isn't a ton, and it's probably, let's see what kind of weight it is. Singles. I'm betting it's probably worsted. Yeah, it's like a DK to worsted. In reality, this probably would have been spun better finer because of the amount of drape that's already in it for like a shawl. But, you know, sometimes you just gotta spin something bright color to make yourself happy. So, that's all the crafting that I've really been doing. I did make 4 masks because everybody's making face masks because you need a face mask. And I made it out of some scrap fabric that I had, and I used one of my friend's templates or patterns that she kind of fiddled with a little bit, and it's basically a big square and then 2 little squares on the back that make a filter pocket, and then the side just has channels, and then you run t-shirt, like a 1-inch strip of t-shirt through the back like a solid headpiece, and then it comes through the sides to cinch them up and then ties behind. And then I put a pipe cleaner in the nose because I have glasses, and if I don't, they fog up pretty bad. So it's not like I'm really going anywhere. But if my husband has to run in anywhere, it's good that he has a mask at least to wear. Because I don't need him bringing anything home to me. So I did make some masks. They're in the dryer right now. Because, you know, they say you should wash and dry them first at least. Even though the fabric's been in this house for probably 2 years. At least maybe 3. So, let's see. What else? So I've been working on some dyeing. Some of the things that I have been dyeing, I really appreciate all the online sales that I've had recently. But as a result, I'm now running extremely low on some things. Example, the neon rainbow in my merino Firestar stained glass base. A wonderful woman named Cheryl bought some of this and posted it up in a spinning group on Facebook. And I then proceeded to sell about 6 pounds, and all that I had left of this base undyed. So I'm down to 2 of these in the shop right now. So if you want them, you need to claim them quick, because that's all I have until the pandemic calms down a bit, because the company where I get the base manufactured at is closed right now. So the neon rainbow, it's pretty awesome. It glows under black light. It's super pretty. I spun some of it recently. Cat. my coworkers are really into drinking out of my water glass right now. And that's a problem. I don't need cats drinking out of my water glass. Hello, bear tamer. Well, I'm sorry that I took your water. You'll live. So the other colorway that I then dyed up is this one, which is called Neon Berries. And it's also on stained glass merino. And it's a hot pink with some purple and bits of bright blue in it. And it also glows under black light. So there is more of this in the store. But the neon rainbow's about out. A couple other things that I dyed up are these two skeins of yarn. And this is my BFL, Superwash BFL Firestar fingering weight base. And the colorway here on the right is called, cat, don't you sneak over there. It's called Steampunk. And the one on the bottom is called Neon Galaxy. And it's a rainbow with some lighter spots in it and then some black speckling on it. So both of those are up in the shop as well. So if you've been shopping recently with me, greatly appreciate it. Please stay out of things, kitty. Because I just had another festival cancel this past week. The Hoosier Hills Fiber Festival, which is the first weekend in June here in Indiana, is now canceled as well. So that makes 3 festivals that have been canceled for me. Come on, July. Social isolate, people. We need some festivals in July. So I've really been throwing myself more into getting the shop completely up to date and getting a lot of things online. So we've had a bunch of purchases recently, and I greatly appreciate that because normally our spring festivals would help pay for hay for the critters and stuff for this year, and without the festivals, it's kind of hard to make some money at times because fiber definitely sells a lot better in person than what it does online because you can touch it. So that's happened. And then this past week we had a huge storm come through on, I think it was Wednesday, and my husband and I watched the storm start, and it started blowing really bad, and we thought, you know, we should probably move the van backwards because it's kind of close to the tree line. Let's move it more into the open area of the driveway. We went out to do that, and on our way out there we heard a crack and a boom, and we thought, oh, okay, a tree limb's fallen on our feed shed maybe, or something like that, because it's plastic, you know, and you'd hear a boom like that. Well, he moved the van backwards, turned it off, came back in, and I'm shining the spotlight out, checking on things as the wind's blowing, and the windshield got nailed. A giant branch came down, hit the windshield wiper, and actually bent the windshield wiper in half almost, and then shattered the windshield upwards. So that was awesome. Right after that, we then lost power, and we had no power for almost 23 hours. That wasn't very fun, because you can't flush a toilet very easily unless you go out and start stealing from the alpaca's troughs to flush with. Didn't have a lot of water in the house, just because, you know, we weren't planning on needing water in the house. Everything in the refrigerator, we'd just gone shopping 2 or 3 days before that. We had a lot of perishable stuff in the fridge, so that got toasted. Luckily the freezer stayed frozen, thank God. So yeah, that was a joy. So this past week I then had to go and attempt to make a Walmart pickup with their handy drop service where you can go and say, hey, I'm in slot number 1, bring my groceries out to me. And so we did that. We have to go at least 1 town over in order to do that because our local Walmart's so small that the grocery aisles are just barely wide enough for 1 cart. And while they have arrows on the floor supposedly that you're supposed to follow, evidently people are not doing that. So we will not be going into that Walmart for the foreseeable future. So we had that happen. So let's see, the windshield, lost the power. There was something else that happened. Oh, and then it like started to freeze out there again. You know, we were gonna shear last Saturday, and it was going to drop into the 30s overnight, so we did not shear. So we're hoping this weekend. Fingers crossed. We have to go tomorrow. We've got a pickup order from a Home Depot to pick up supplies to do a raised bed garden. So, you know, these days you never know where the food is going to be, so you might as well put in a garden because, hey, I'm stuck here till July at this rate, so it's not like I'm going anywhere and I got plenty of time to take care of a garden. So we got that happening. And the other big thing that's coming up right now is Other Sheep is due with babies on May 1st. And she's as big as a house right now. She's very uncomfortable and she's not happy about being pregnant. It's going to be an interesting experience. We've never had lambs before. She's definitely got more than one in there. If she only has one, it's going to come out half of her size. She's had twins previously, from what I understand. So we will see if there's twins or triplets in there. Hopefully not quads, because while I am home, that does not mean that I want to feed bottle babies. So upcoming events, let's get real. Who knows if any of these are going to happen at this rate? But in theory, in July, I have the Natural Fiber Extravaganza in Nashville, and then SSK in Nashville as well. And then in September, I have, what's it called? Yellow Springs? No. Is that what it's called? It might be called Yellow Springs Fiber Festival. It's the one that's at Young's Dairy in Ohio. But it's in September, I think. And then in October, I have SAFF in Asheville, North Carolina. We shall see. At this rate, who knows? At this rate, it may be completely online sales these days, and we're just going to have to get extremely creative. You never know these days. So, I think that's about all I got to talk about this weekend. Like I said, not a lot of crafting. I've been doing a lot of garden planning. Trying to decide where I'm going to put what plants, and then how can I get said plants, because A, I'm not going into Walmart, and B, Walmart doesn't list their seeds online. And then places like burpee.com sell out in less than 10 minutes when they do list stuff. So I got creative and went to Etsy, and then we've got a local greenhouse that finally got stuff up online, and you're able to do curbside pickup. So as soon as these things get installed, I'm ready to put vegetables in the ground and become a vegetable gardener. I do have to fence it off because Ted the sheep is still loose and he is starting to eat things that he shouldn't be eating. He has all sorts of grass to eat, and instead he eats daylilies and the edges of Japanese maples. That's a sheep for you. What won't a sheep eat? Probably is the better question. So that's about it, I think. Hopefully I'll try to get back again in 2 weeks. I've been trying to do an Instagram live on Tuesdays at 2 o'clock Eastern time. I didn't get to it this week because I was out at Walmart picking up my order. So hopefully next week we'll see. A lot of it depends on weather and if I have anything at all exciting to show you guys, which unfortunately there hasn't been a ton of excitement recently. But yeah, I may shear this weekend, and if I do, I'll try to put some video on Instagram Live or up on Facebook Live, so that way people can join along with the fun of shearing, and especially the fun of shearing with only 2 people, because that means my husband and I have to physically lift every animal that we're shearing, which isn't as fun as what it sounds like, especially when some of the animals are 150 plus pounds. So, we will see what happens this week. So, that's it for now. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you guys in 2 weeks with a much calmer world. But, who knows? The pandy is crazy. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye. So I try to only hose down their bellies and legs, because if their top sides get too hot and it's wet, they aren't going to dry out. And there's Windy right behind them. Windy loves to get hosed, even though she hates to be handled. And pretty soon it's going to become a bit of a fist fight for the hosing. Because then you always get one that has to come closer and closer, so that way nobody else can get hosed. Windy, get back. Windy, come on. Move back, please. Let's let some other people get hosed. Damn, Bluey, move. You gotta hose the butt. And here comes Dolly. Dolly's usually a pretty big hose hog. Yeah, the second that you have a hose, everybody's your best friend. Windy, I don't know what you think you're doing. Meantime, the sheep are up there, not understanding why the alpacas are so excited over getting hosed. Come on, Windy, move. Let some other people get hosed. Come on, I'm trying to reach measeles there in the middle. Come on, move. We used to set up sprinklers, and the problem is with a sprinkler is that one pig lays on top. Mainly this girl right here, Windy. Come on, I'm trying to get some of the guys in the back. Alright, let's see if the boys are down here. There's Fire. Here, Fire. Oh, so now, once you get wet, then you go and you lay in the mud. Or you create your own mud. Yeah, everybody's your bestie when you got a hose. So they'll be very happy to be sheared on Saturday. Because it's only in the mid-70s, low 70s here today. And they're hot. Hey, ladies. Hey, girls. There's Kissy in the back. Go up here and check on the fat sheep. There's Peep Sheep. And over here is Other Sheep, who is heavily pregnant, and so pregnant that she doesn't even want to stand up to poop. Because, you know, that's what you do. Hey, Sheep. Hi, Other Sheep. Hi. What are you doing? Huh? Wanna hop up? Oh, you're so fat. Oh, so fat. Oh, shake your tail. Yep, we have a little bit of an udder underneath there. And all the alpacas are still saying, "Where's my hose?"